Hi there, and thank you all for tuning in to episode 6 of Mantell Associates Network. I'm joined here today by Sameer, who is the CEO and managing partner of CSA Healthcare based in Germany. CSA as an organization are a consultancy business that focus not only on corporate strategy, portfolio strategy, mergers and acquisitions, and also licensing across pharmaceutical and life sciences, with focuses really on Europe and the US. Sameer is not only the CEO of CSA Healthcare, but he's also a non-executive director of the board at Synteta, based in Switzerland, which focus on the innovation of global pharma and products for injectable anesthesia and allergistic products within the industry. Sameer is someone who I've known now for just over 2 years, and he has over 30 years experience in this field. So Sameer, before we get started, thank you so much for coming onto the show. And really the idea of the podcast is to add as much value to leaders and anyone across the industry as possible. So the best place to get started is really, how has everything been going for you? And talk us through your life since COVID-19, being the CEO of a management consultancy and on the board of another business. What's it like at home? What's it like at work? And what does your average day look like?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much, Alessandro, for the invite. It is lovely chatting with you through this new medium. And thanks very much. Much appreciated. Now, with respect to your question, yeah, it's these are very interesting times, I would say. I would not say these are challenging times. I would say these are very interesting times. I personally have figured out a lot of new possibilities, a lot of positives. Yeah, there are so many challenges, but with respect to me, my family, our client base of CSA Healthcare, and you mentioned Synthetica, where I'm a board member, all the employees of Synthetica and management team, with God's grace, everything is going great and fine.
Amazing. And you mentioned interesting. Day to day, what's it like?
Yes, as you know, all of us used to plan our meetings, and then we were rushing from one meeting to the other if we are in the city, or in our office from one meeting room to the other. And then we were extensively traveling on site of our clients or prospective clients, and et cetera, et cetera. Now it is totally different, right? So sometimes we are talking on phone, sometimes on social media, and sometimes, like today, we are talking on Zoom. And this also gives, I would say, a lot of flexibility. I have personally found that it has given a lot of time to me and my team for more introspection, better planning, realigning our strategies. Yeah, there has been a lull period in certain ways of business, but it's not that business has stopped. Maybe later in the conversation, I'll tell you how I have found some of the companies in pharma and healthcare space are working more than usual right now. So on a personal front as well, I guess I have been able to spend more time on my health a little bit. And like I was mentioning you separately, I tried my hand on cutting my hair, and this is the result. And yeah, you know, so a few things to reinvent myself, and yeah,
that's
pretty good.
Awesome. And what I liked about what you said there is about the planning side. So having time to work on strategy, on planning, and this is a common trend which I'm seeing across leaders within the pharmaceutical space. And I mean, as a whole, a lot of that was kind of personal and business, but how has everything been going in terms of a business front for you, for CSA, for Synteta since COVID-19, and how has it impacted you as a whole?
Yeah, sure. So maybe I will divide my answer into CSA Healthcare, most of our key clients, and Synthetica. So with respect to CSA Healthcare, we being a management consultancy firm, so these have been challenging times for us to get new business, because some of our clients, prospective clients, are passing through tough times, or they would like to focus on certain areas to keep the existing business running instead of thinking of newer business. And that's why it has been a little bit challenging for CSA. But then on the positive side, it gave us time to introspect, like I said earlier, and plan further. For many of our clients, CSA Healthcare's client, many of them, these have been very exciting times because they have been able to see potential new opportunities which are emerging through these unfortunate COVID-related situation. This unfortunate COVID-related situation. Overall, it's very sad that we are passing through this pandemic, but this has led to some opportunities in a positive way for pharma industry. And that's where some of our clients are really doing very well. On the other side, some clients, for example, one particular client wanted to set up business in Europe, and we were helping them to set up from scratch. They decided to suspend the business development because they would rather focus on existing business. Talking specifically of Synthetica, they are a great company, by the way. Perhaps in certain ways below the radar because they are a 100 million Swiss franc size company. They have been suppliers of very high quality products which are used in ICU and intensive care and critical care. And in this period, they have been flooded with more orders and more requirements because everybody is stocking up and I would say planning for better care in ICUs and critical care settings in hospitals. So Synthetica, I personally think, have done great. They have done more production than usual, and that was not easy. That was very challenging for them, keeping the employees safe at the same time, ensuring the quality of product, and you can't have too many people in the facility as well. So it's a mixed bag, I would say, but overall, I would say for pharma industry, it has been relatively good.
Absolutely. And you said about obviously horrible times that we're in with COVID-19, but I love the wording of opportunity. It has presented opportunity for innovation within businesses right now. And crazy that your business has been working or has had higher production during this time period than it was having before, which is really a testament to not only how the business has adapted, but also changes that you've had to make. So I guess a good question for you would be, what changes have you personally had to make, or the businesses that you're representing have had to make during this time period to adapt to COVID-19?
Yeah, so not only for CSA, but for most of our clients. Obviously, one of the big change which happened was more online meetings and working from home, less travel. One very other interesting thing happened is that some of our clients were already looking at digital as a major platform for their future growth as well as a strategy. Digital means different to different people, but in this COVID pandemic period, people have realized that this was really the right approach, and there is more focus on digital platforms, whether it is only about meeting through digital platforms or managing the data of companies or topics related to explaining your product to potential customers, whether they are doctors or pharmacists or nurses or anybody else, or business or controlling the business per se. So these are 3 or 4 major topics which have emerged, and in case of CSA, we have also focused quite a lot now on some of these online platforms and working from remote locations.
Incredible. And this is something that actually, I'll be completely honest, we at Mantell Associates here, we had like all the kind of facilities to work remotely, but we still were based in the office in central London. And having everything that's happened happen, and seeing, like you and like your businesses, we've not done like phenomenally well, but we've maintained a substantial amount of business and been fortunate to have brilliant clients and bring in more business. Working from home has definitely been effective, and we've adapted using what you called digital methods to that situation. And amazing to hear that you guys are doing it as well at both businesses. Something which is more personal here in a way, which is you're a leader within the pharmaceutical industry. And like, I know I'm a leader for a headhunting firm, but when I first had COVID happen, it was challenging. It was difficult mentally, and also in terms of business side. You think you go from being in a busy office to sitting at home, and it was a difficult time period. And over the time, we've now, I'd like to say, I've adapted better. Not there yet, but a lot better. With being a leader in the pharmaceutical industry, how have you adapted in general, not only to managing your staff, but in general, and how have you found it?
Yeah, so I think especially in pharma industry, there are 2-3 major topics. I mean, CSA Healthcare is management consultancy firm, so I'll talk about that. But for pharma industry, it's even more challenging because, as you have said earlier as well, separately, pharma industry is talking about or dealing with lives of patients, and we are producing products which are required to have very high quality, and they are life-saving medicines, and they have, in that sense, severe impact. So working from home is one thing, but managing the quality from a remote location is almost impossible. And that's why many companies have had different kind of strategies to pass through this process. I mean, maybe to step back a little bit, first of all, I would say, which I was saying earlier as well, that digital platforms had a cascading effect in this period and are getting more and more adapted. One outstanding thing which has happened is that overall, most of the employees, almost all the employees in the pharma industry, I hear from a lot of my clients or our clients as well as Synthetica team, most of the employees have reacted so positively. I would put them in the category of Corona warriors, actually.
I love that.
They have really stuck their neck out, and they have done beyond their call of duty. For example, I know some of the pharma industry or pharmaceutical companies where companies have produced in 2 shifts, not in 1 shift, which was usual for them. That means they had to recruit more employees instead of sending them home. And some of these companies, they made special arrangements for housing these, and I'm talking Europe and US primarily, as of course it happened elsewhere as well, but I'm talking right now of Europe. And they made arrangements of their stay at the manufacturing site or in nearby hotels, which were especially hired for this purpose, so that these employees do not need to go home. So they worked for 15 days, and then they were given 15 days off after passing through a required quarantine as per the local requirements.
Wow.
Some companies adapted in the sense that they figured out what is going to cause any problem with respect to Corona or COVID-19. So some companies, I know Synthetica specifically, they decided not to run their canteen in their facility because
a lot of companies are doing that. A lot of companies.
But then they made alternative arrangements so that employees can have their meals. And this was very painful for the company per se, because they know they want to bring people together, because that's what brings the sense of team or togetherness, etc. And all that got affected. But then, having said that, despite all that, the employees created a very positive situation by their hard work. Some companies also, and that's usually, I guess, the new normal, at least for the time being, no visitors were allowed, for example. So in this duration. So yeah, you can have meetings, you can have online meetings, and all the employees are working, maintaining partly social distancing or whatever are the local requirements as per the local government's instructions or advices. But then there were no externals who were visiting the site, thereby ensuring that there is no infection coming in. So a lot of things were done. But one sentence I would like to repeat here: I was not pleasantly surprised or surprised. I was just so happy to see what I thought would happen, that the employees reacted in a very, very positive way. They took it as a responsibility which they have to give back to the society. I think that's amazing.
Absolutely, and that is, and we've seen so many different stories. I love the part about the warrior, the corona warrior, because at this time period, you've got a lot of people across a lot of different industries, and my heart goes out to them, who are maybe off work or furloughed, or their companies can't operate, if it's transportation or different areas where they've had to take time off. And although that might be a nightmare, being in lockdown and not working, it also has its benefits. Whereas the pharmaceutical industry has definitely not had that. And they've had to stick together, and businesses have had to come together. And amazing to hear that Simfita and CSA Healthcare have both done that as well, along with many other businesses, which is phenomenal. And it's created a togetherness across the space as a whole, not just companies, but the space as a whole, which is amazing. And from the standpoint of leadership, and a lot of the listeners who we've had so far, a lot of the people we have reaching out are normally, for this podcast, a lot of them are leaders. One question I've asked everyone who's come on is about the aspect of being in control of your work. You're a CEO, I'm a managing director of a company, and I don't deem myself as a micromanager or a control freak, actually the opposite. But if you don't understand what's going on in your company, then you shouldn't have one, because you've got to be a bit in control. And during COVID-19, like you said earlier, working remotely is almost impossible to maintain the same level of quality, almost impossible. So how have you managed and coped with having to accept in part that you're not going to be as in control as before?
Yeah, so I would say this was the time when I realized those companies which did not work in a micromanagement style and developed their second line or third lines of management or managers did very well. And I've been lucky to be trained like that. And also, I mean, I can't say everything about Synthetica because I'm just a non-executive board member. I don't run that company and I have no executive role there. But I would like to give their example. They also created this kind of second line management team, which, and many of our clients, of CSA Healthcare's clients, I have seen that. And this corona pandemic did not impact their business beyond a point, because all these companies had excellent second lines and third lines. And so sometimes the CEO personally was not on the location most of the time, but the others who were on the location, which were from the second line, managed so well because they were used to doing it day to day. And they were given the freedom to take decisions. Of course, every company has their ways of cascading the responsibilities as well as decision making, but this worked very well. So I would say, to summarize, for many of these companies, this pandemic did not impact anything beyond a point, because they were very well in a position. Actually, that reminds me of very interesting video and article. Both video I had seen an article. The CEO of Novartis last year, and he comes with a background of public health. And he had said last year that the world is not ready for a pandemic. Today, I think how true it was.
Yeah.
But some of the companies were ready for it, in the sense that how to manage their business. So I guess where we have a lot to learn, how to spruce up our healthcare systems, etc. But the pharma companies per se were able to manage it pretty well, I would say, most of them.
Absolutely. And for you, and for more specifically as well, CSA Healthcare, how have you found it or coped with everything since COVID for that part of the business area, with working from home, with managing the business? How has that been for you?
Yeah, so overall, CSA Healthcare per se, being a management consultancy firm, like I said earlier, also existing business was not impacted. We did pretty well because we knew our clients. Our clients had a lot of confidence in us, and we could manage very well through video calls and regular telecoms. Most of the work, we don't do any primary research where we go and visit doctors or patients and collect data. So that was not any problem in any case. But what really has been challenging, and still is challenging, to find new business in management consultancy, because of the reasons I elaborated earlier as well. But mostly because unless a new client sees you and you spend some time together with them in a big way, you can't really convince them that you are the right company beyond a point. Yes, I'm not saying that the new business is not coming, it's coming, but those are small businesses which are coming. And since we are talking today via a technology platform and not in person, so you know that one of the companies which has gained most, perhaps, I'm just guessing, is Microsoft, because a lot of companies are using Microsoft Teams, right? And I was very intrigued to read what Satya Nadella, Microsoft CEO said. He said switching from office setup to work from home will be replacing one dogma with another dogma. And then he said that he feels that increase in productivity through work from home comes at a price of burning the social capital. So he said, when we are meeting people, what I mean to say is, when we are having physical meetings with physical presence, then 2 minutes before the meeting and 2 minutes after the meeting, we talk to the person next to us, and then this gives us an important touch and feel. And without that, the efficiency of work from home cannot achieve that, actually. And that's, now I come back to my answer, what you were just asking me. So that is missing for us right now, because, and I guess that's missing for everyone, for you as well. I know you and I have talked to you many times, and you're a great networker. And for great networkers, personal meeting is more important, right?
100%. It has been really, really hard with all of this to have the human contact, which is also probably why I subconsciously wanted to develop the podcast more, is to have more interaction with more people in the industry and talk. But it's definitely a big issue.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting you. I just got an idea. For the next podcast, perhaps you and the person you are interviewing both can have a cup of coffee, because usually when we meet, we have a cup of coffee and discuss over coffee.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. I love that. And thank you for going over everything. I've particularly loved the example so far that you gave about the organisation bringing in the staff for 15 days and then letting them stay in quarantine 15 days afterwards in order to maintain the productivity, which has been one great example of meeting demands during a difficult time period. And I guess another thing that you touched upon with staff was the idea or the point around the canteen. But what support are you as a leader, you at CSA and Cinetica, giving your staff during this time period to help them through?
Yeah, so one thing which is paramount for all of us is safety of all the employees and all of us. So this is something which all of us, including at CSA, we are ensuring. And there are no shortcuts being taken to get business, in the sense that there are governmental guidelines or WHO guidelines or whatever to stay safe and not get infected or pass on the infection to anyone else. Absolutely. So we are not taking any shortcuts, and we are not allowing any shortcuts, even if that means losing some business. Because at this stage, it is most important to show this compassion. We own it to our employees, and all companies, I believe, owe it to their employees, rather owe to our employees that they are safe. So this is paramount for all of us, and we are doing whatever is necessary, whether it involves working from home. So we have asked, and many of our clients have asked their employees who can actually manage working from home. Some employees cannot manage their work working from home because they have to do physical work or experiments or move a machinery, for example. They cannot work from home for sure. But support functions can work from home. People who are working more with documents or knowledge instead of doing working with in the laboratory or working with machinery. So that's what we have done. And in case of management consultancy, as you know, we are working mostly with clients and not in lab or not with machinery. So for all of us at CSA, we are working from home. We are ensuring proper social distancing is maintained. We have ensured that all concerned have the right kind of tools. So it's not that they have to spend their own money to download something, whichever official platforms or digital platforms which are needed. We have provided support to that, and our clients have also done that. Regular medical checkups are always been done, but right now we have also focused more on that to ensure everybody is safe and healthy. So things like that, I would say everybody is in the same boat. So we are all working together, understanding each other why a particular thing is happening. Good thing is that we did not have to ask anybody to go home, in the sense that furlough or retrenchment, and that's, I think we have been very lucky with God's grace that our industry has not suffered that.
And it also shows that you're doing the social distancing correct and you're looking after the staff correctly. If no one's catching it or no one's getting it, then it means that the businesses that you're representing both are managing that situation really, really well. And it's apparent that the demands and the obstacles which you've overcome through the digital aspect, through the healthcare, through all of those different areas. So something I'm intrigued to find out about, you touched on it briefly earlier, but business development and sales is the bread and butter of any company. You have to be doing it. It has to be involved. How have you found the market in terms of business development, sales? How have you adapted? What kind of ideas have you come up with to work around everything during these times?
Yeah, so, but this is really one of the most challenging areas, business development. And um, uh, there were various tools which we were using earlier, including um, multiple conferences and exhibitions and personal meetings. So right now we are restricted to working through online tools, especially LinkedIn is very helpful in that. And we are participating in multiple online conferences or talks, and that's on an average 2 to 3 online conferences per month where we
Yeah,
give a talk or we participate and give our opinion and help our clients in certain ways. So we are restricted only to that right now, and I guess this is not going to be permanent. And as we go along, uh, it's a matter of time, whether it is 2 months, 3 months, 1 quarter, 2 quarter. Uh, a lot of things will change back to normal. And at that point of time, we will go back to our mix of personal meetings as well as continuing some of these digital platforms. Why not? If something is useful out of these digital platforms, we would definitely continue to use that. And they are useful. So, currently, to summarize, presently, these are challenging times for business development, not getting done as much as we would like to do. But yeah, we are still managing.
understood. And what you mentioned about the conferences, you're not going to be the only company at the conference. Businesses are there to do business, and things are still pressing forward during these times, which is really, really positive. What is your, being a headhunting company, I've got to ask you the question as well. What is the stance of both of your companies been on recruitment during this period, and how have the businesses adapted?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, what we did was we decided which are the critical roles we definitely need to fill, COVID pandemic or not.
Mm.
So those roles we still proceeded to taking to the next step with respect to recruitment. Yes, one change definitely happened, that almost all meetings or interviews have been online through telephonic discussions or through any kind of video platform. Many of the non-critical roles, they were put on hold for recruitment later on, and the reasons were two. One was obviously the uncertainty. Even though I said earlier the pharma industry is doing better than the other industries, so some companies are getting more business right now. So ideally, they would need more people, right?
Yeah.
So and but then there is still uncertainty. So that's the reason to be abundantly cautious. Some of these roles were put on hold or deferred to later, in the sense that, okay, let's not do it in Q2, let's do recruit these in Q3, but they will definitely come back. I think that because I'm talking to you, who is an expert in recruitments and headhunting, I would say that this is my own assessment, and I've also read a lot of expert reports on that. There will be a much higher degree of recruitment in pharma space in Q3 and Q4 as compared to last year. And there are multiple reasons for that. One is that, of course, some people have put their current recruitments on hold, so suddenly they will start. The second reason is the pharma industry will adapt itself to the new normal. A lot of companies will go into pandemic research or new ways to manage pandemics. Many of the projects will get realigned because companies have same budget, 100. They have to reallocate it, and that means there will be newer areas where companies will go in. They will perhaps stop or put on back burner some of the earlier projects, and this will bring up a lot of new areas of research or development or commercialization.
Absolutely.
And that means I see a lot of recruitment happening in R&D, with whether it is development, regulatory, project management, and things like that. Also see a lot of recruitment happening partly in commercial, but more in business development, because whether it is licensing or finding new alliance partners and things like that. So this is the backdrop, and this is what my thinking is with respect to what will come in future. But coming back to your question specifically, I would say about 25 to 30% of the roles our clients had foreseen are still getting filled, but more through online meetings, and the remaining are getting deferred to Q3 and Q4.
Absolutely. And really interesting perspective that you got. And what I can add to that is, because Mantell Associates predominantly focus on people like yourself, Sameer, so senior individuals within organizations, a lot of the positions that we work on have been deemed as what you called critical positions within the business. And with having work, you're absolutely right about the regulatory R&D. We've seen an increase in business on that front, both in the US, Europe, and we're doing as well a lot of work in India. So from our side, we were actually having a team meeting this morning, saying it's been busier than it was in Q1 for us, which has been crazy and positive. But it also shows that companies, pharmaceutical companies like the ones that you represent and others and clients of yours, are seeing what you said earlier, the opportunity in it all, and seeing that now is the time to press forward. So thank you for all of that. And the final thing which I would like to ask you, which is my favorite part of the show, which is, what piece of advice would you give to other business leaders right now?
Yeah, I think one of the most important thing is to step back, take up fresh customer segmentation, and realign strategies. Now, there has been a lot which has been said, what would be the new normal, what is going to change. But as we go along, there will be more change. And it is very important for all of us senior management to be totally aware that there will be more changes coming up. So it's time to step back, like I said, take a fresh look and realign our strategies. And it's very important that the boards and the senior management strike a right balance between hope for future and realism. And that's because many of the people say, oh, okay, we are dead, nothing good is going to happen. That's also not reality. And many people might say that pharma industry will prosper like, anything. That's also not reality. And that's why I think right now it is more important for all of us who are in senior management roles to keep this right balance between hope and realism. At the same time, we have to think very carefully that while we are getting more digital, there is more cyber risk which is growing. So we have to be not get carried away by the digital story in totality. We have to keep our thoughts also or eyes on the ball with respect to cyber risk. Definitely a lot of more innovation will come. So we have to think as senior managers how we can innovate further and more. And last thing I would like to say, the path ahead is surely going to have ups and downs, but we require more resilience. So I guess that is more or less I would say.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And all of the points that you mentioned, I completely agree with. And the resilience part is one. And resilience can be one in terms of people, i.e. the leader being strong within the business, because if the leader's strong, then normally it will encourage the business to be strong. But also resilient can also mean patient as well in a lot of ways, because you've got to grind through the difficult times which are ahead. But Sameer, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for everything that you've said, and no doubt what you've done and what you said here today will reach out to people, leaders, people inside the businesses that you're representing, other companies as well, and will add value to someone somewhere along the way, which is what it's all about. So thank you so much. Absolute pleasure. And yeah, take care.